Welcome to the Profit by Design podcast. Today we have a great guest with us. We have Ean Price Murphy. She is being featured in our Great Place to Work Spotlight. So welcome, Ean.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Ean is the founder of Moxie Bookkeeping. And at Moxie, they teach successful entrepreneurs dead simple cash management system that works with their natural habits so they don't have to learn accounting to become permanently profitable and can focus on impact, not spreadsheets. Ean is a fellow certified Profit First Professional Mastery Level. She's a Zero Platinum Partner, QuickBooks Pro Advisor, and a certified business coach. And I've known Ean for a while now, and you and I have connected. We've had multiple conversations. You are progressive and you are on the cutting edge. You're not the typical bookkeeper. And I think it is so important to understand that, because as we talk about you being in the Great Place to Work spotlight, one of the things that makes a great place to work is being unique and being different. And there are clients who are right for you, and there are A player team members who are right for you. And you are intentionally building a business that is going to be attractive to those clients that need what you have to offer, as well as the A players who are right for your team. And so as we dive in, Ean, I want to help people understand, what does it take to be featured in Tap the Potential's Great Place to Work spotlight, because it's pretty significant. So Ean has been through our How to Hire the Best course at Tap the Potential, and she came in with a mission to become an employer of choice to attract A players to her team. And she really took that mission on. And each week in the course, there are action steps to take. And when you complete 90% of those move forward action steps, you get invited here onto the podcast to share all the things that you're doing to create a great place to work. And when a business owner is juggling all the things that business owners juggle, and they commit to, we're going to make this a great place to work. It's not just about taking care of clients. It's also about taking care of our team. I think that's something that needs to be acknowledged and celebrated in a big way. So here you are, Ean. Congratulations on being on the spotlight.
Thank you.
So tell us a bit about Moxie Bookkeeping and what makes you guys unique and different. And then we'll get into what you're doing for your team to really create that great place to work.
Yeah. Well, I think that we are well positioned amongst the sort of new wave of bookkeeping firms that have been emerging, that are very tech forward, that are very relationship focused, that are cloud based, that we really leverage the technology. And I love that that's actually becoming less and less unique. Of course, the thing that keeps us unique is me. That even as I've removed myself from the day to day, and sometimes even the week to week, that the values that I started this business with, I believe, carry through everything that we do.
So tell me, what are those values?
Integrity, communication, collaboration. Those are our top three.
And as you are working with your clients, talk to me some about what does that mean to a client to experience those values in action?
Yeah, I think collaboration is actually the one that gets most challenged with clients. And thankfully, we've got a pretty solid sales process that when people are talking to us in the initial stages and saying, I just want to be able to hand everything over. I don't want to think about it again. I don't want to have to worry about what's happening with my books. I go, ooh, tell me more about that, because that to me sounds like abdicating, not delegating. And, we're not mind readers. Certainly, again, we can leverage technology to be like, if it's Verizon, we know what that is. If it's the post office, we know what that is. But we won't know whether that's a job expense or an office expense necessarily, unless you tell us. And we can code it the way that we would want to see it on our P&L, but that unless we have the conversation around, what is the structure that's the foundation of your business, we're not going to know how to meet you where you're at. And so if you are quote unquote too busy to take that time to really invest in your own business, we right away go, this does not feel collaborative, right? Like, this is
Yes.
bad. I already see the writing on the wall. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, not very long ago, last year, I had a client that's a local client who I had a personal relationship with, whose bookkeeper left them with no notice. And so even though they had not passed any of our tests, I said, of course, I will help you to get from here to there. And it was awful. And I was like, boy, I knew better.
Wow. So I think this is such an important point for business owners when it comes to protecting our teams and ourselves, that our immutable laws really are the filter for who gets through the door, whether it's a client or a fellow team member. And one of the things that you're saying right off the bat is, if you want to be successful with your finances in your business, have a collaborative relationship with your bookkeeper. There has to be the back and forth communication, because you guys can't read minds.
Right.
And then when there's mistakes that happen naturally because the business owner's not communicating with you, there's a lot of rework that happens on the other side of it, which makes it very hard for you and your team. So I love that you're sharing a school of hard knocks lesson, because I would imagine that you're taking from that, yeah, we're going to screen our clients a lot better in the future so that our team has fewer headaches to deal with.
And more importantly, because we had already been screening, I think the lesson learned on that one is I need to be better about allowing my team to protect me from me.
Oh, say more about
Right?
that. That's great.
Because again, the reason that this client got ushered through the back door was because they were a local connection of mine, right? They're in my BNI
yeah.
group. And so
Yeah.
even though every red flag was flying, I was like, it's okay. We've outlined the red flags. And the poor person, right? Like their bookkeeper essentially walked out on them.
Yeah.
And so I was saying, we're 3 times the price that you were paying for your local bookkeeper, because we're an agency and we work at a very high level. We don't work on desktop, which is the only way that she worked. We're going to ask you to move online. We'll move you online, but we're going to charge you for it. And all of these things. And, and the business owner over there was a man that had significant focus issues, didn't believe in collaboration, like would never let us into every time we'd present a solution, he would knock it down. Mm-hmm. And so after 6 months, I was like, this clearly isn't working for either of us. And so it was just, that was 6 months of time and energy wasted because I didn't follow my own immutable laws, right? And my whole team is doing it. It's me. So being able to be like, I should not be I'm not the salesperson any longer. I haven't been for years. Why am I undermining my own team? And like, they were very right to be like, told you so. And I'm like, I know, I told me so too.
Yes. Boy, that is a school of hard knocks lesson right there, Anne. And I've been there as a business owner. And I think what's really interesting is we bring on team, we create systems, we have our immutable laws, and then we're at a networking event. Someone kind of comes in through the back door because they have a personal connection with you, and you feel as like, oh, you want to be a nice person, and so you want to help them. And then your team is like, well, wait a minute, where did this person come from, and why are they here? And so I think the big lesson is we create immutable laws for a reason. We need to follow them.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about the best clients, and because I think this is so informative for business owners to understand how to be a good client to your bookkeeper and what's needed for a successful bookkeeping relationship. So let's talk about, what are the best clients like?
So before I can really talk about what the best clients are like for me, which is very easy, part of that conversation is, what is a bookkeeper and what does a bookkeeper do? And the reason that that's an important piece of the conversation is because so many businesses come to me saying, I need a new bookkeeper because my bookkeeper can't answer these questions for me. And I go, yeah, that's because that's not bookkeeping, right? So bookkeeping is recording history, what has already happened as it comes through the bank or as the bills and invoices come in, that history gets recorded and followed through in a way that is precise and clean. But what most business owners want is the view ahead, right? The headlights
Yeah.
down the dark road.
Yes.
That's not bookkeeping. Can I afford XYZ? Can I afford to hire? Can I afford to move to a new office? Can I afford to invest in a new product line? None of those are bookkeeping questions. And so when they ask their bookkeeper those questions and they get a confused look or a shrugged shoulders, they feel disappointed in their bookkeeper, but it's like trying to ask a dermatologist about why your knee hurts, right? Same body, you get frustrated because it's just
Yeah.
you and why you're a doctor. Why can't you answer this? But it's a
Yeah.
different specialty.
Yeah.
And so then they turn to their tax accountant and they ask the same questions and they get the same non-answer because tax accountants are there to record the history in the little boxes provided by the government to report and stay in compliance. So there's this huge gap, which has thankfully, blissfully been filled by Profit First, which is why we're a Profit First certified firm, because that's the system to answer those questions. Doesn't
Yeah.
replace your bookkeeper account. It supplements them, right? I say
Yeah.
beans and rice. Each
Yeah.
one exists separately. Together, they're really magic.
Mm-hmm.
So the ideal client for me understands what their bookkeeper can and can't do for them, and when it's time to call in a different specialist. Either this is a compliance question, I should be going to my tax accountant, and I'm happy to remind people of that. Or this is a cash flow question. I need to be talking strategy with Ian rather than asking one of her bookkeepers, like, why am I ill prepared for my tax bill? Like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you didn't save for it. What do you think? So our ideal clients, I think, are really interested in financial literacy, financial empowerment. They want to be able to understand how the sausage is made, even though they don't want to make the sausage, right? And that to me is beautiful, right? Then you're delegating from a place of, I know what it takes to go into this, I know what it takes to produce this, and I know what to look for at the other end.
I think that's such an important distinction. And one of the things that I love about our Profit Design listeners is there's an appreciation for, I don't understand my finances. And I am okay with saying I don't understand my finances and I want to know more, and help me and educate me. And that's where that collaboration starts to come to fruition and really be very powerful. And I want to hear more. And I think our audience would want to hear more about, how does Profit First support you in answering some of those forward out of the front of the car, the windshield questions of, can I afford to hire? How do you know when you can afford to hire? That's a question that comes up all the time.
So when Profit First has been implemented well, it allows the business owner to focus on just two questions. Have I hit my sales target for the month? Because I've already had someone help me with all of the calculations to say, if you bring in X number of dollars, you're good. Mm-hmm. Not just for operating expenses, but for, owner's pay and taxing and savings and growth and impact and all of the things. Like, you're good, you're okay. And then the second thing to keep an eye on is the bank balance. Is it trending up? Mm-hmm. If yes, great. If it's holding steady, like, okay, there's an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And if it's trending down, that's your red flag, right? Sign on the highway, rocks falling, sharp turn, whatever it is, to take evasive action now before it becomes an emergency.
Yeah.
So there's that really simple base of it. But I also recommend, and I think a lot of Profit First professionals would back me up on this, if you know that you have a specific position you want to hire for, and you're not 100% sure that you can afford it, open an account called New Hire. Start putting their biweekly salary amount into that. If you can still pay everything else, great, you're good.
Yes. Yes. I think that is such a simple, I mean, like you said, dead simple. That is such a dead simple way of figuring out. So if your bank balance is trending up, that's the first indicator you could maybe afford to hire. But the best way to know for sure is to open up, like all of us profit first professionals are happy to say, open up another account and put money in that account and see, and it'll give you confidence. But it also, what I love about that is it creates another sales goal. So it becomes really clear, like the whole team has to hit this target, and we need to work toward this as a team so that we can hire this person who's going to take things off of our plates. And that really gets the whole team involved in wanting to bring on a new person. So let's just talk about your team, and what are some things that you were doing to really create a great place to work for your A players?
Well, part of it is that we always try to sort of meet people where they're at. We're really clear what our expectations are. And so even though we have some very specific measurables that we expect people, right? Like we need you working X number of hours a week, and we expect no more than this percentage of that is done on sort of administrative work. Everything else should be in service of the client. But if someone has a particular need or desire, we're more than happy to make adjustments, right? We're a nationwide virtual firm. So it doesn't really matter to me where you live. It matters to me, are you available at least, part of the time, a couple of days a week on either West Coast working hours or East Coast working hours? Because I don't need you available 40 hours during the 9 to 5 window, or,
Yeah.
6 to 8 window, given the time zones. It as long as you're able to communicate effectively, know what your tasks are tomorrow so that you're ready for them today, and keeping up with your communication, like go do it from a beach. Go for it. Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the work supports life, and
Absolutely.
celebrating flexibility and being a virtual work environment really creates that opportunity. And what I love for you is that you can hire somebody all over the country. I mean,
Yeah.
your ability, the pool that you have to hire from is much bigger in that way.
I think also it's really important that we really do have a team, right? So one of the core things that we say in training is, you don't have to do it, but you have to make sure it gets done. So if you wake up and are sick today and have a client deadline, please don't work while you're sick. Even if you're not bringing it into the office, like please take the rest that you need. Just give us a heads up so that we can
Yeah.
pass that off to someone else who can say, listen, I've got time for this, right? We have a Slack channel where everyone can communicate with each other, so that we're
Mhm.
really asking the team to, help each other problem solve, strategize, time block, all the things, because I can only say it so many times, and it doesn't always stick when I say it.
I'm writing this down. You don't have to do it, but you have to make sure it gets done. I think that's such a great way to characterize that, because when we're creating these flexible work environments, sometimes team members will take advantage and they'll say, "Oh, I'm just not going to show up today because I understand it's flexible around here." And understanding that there is responsibility that accompanies the flexibility, and your statement there just really very succinctly characterizes that. So I imagine other business owners will be using that statement going forward. You
Welcome
don't
to
have
it.
to do it, but you have to make sure it gets done if it's within your role and it's one of your key results that you're responsible for delivering.
Yeah.
So I also want to just say that you having key results that your team members are responsible for delivering makes you unique, because in many large companies and small businesses, one of the biggest complaints from team members is, I really don't know what I'm supposed to do around here. I have all these things they tell me to do, but at the end of the day, I don't know if I'm doing what's needed. And I think it creates a great feeling of, I can focus. I can, these are the things that are most important. And for managing stress, there's a lot of research, psychological research, that says that when we can control our jobs and what we do and how the work gets done, we feel less stressed. It's when we don't feel like we have any control over that where our stress level goes up as an employee. And so you creating this results oriented work environment is very powerful for your team members.
And it's powerful for me, right? So
Yes.
we have a book club. We did a book club yesterday,
Oh,
and it's just a nice way to get the team together, and again, sort of strongly encourage them to do some professional development. And one of our team members said, I was so glad XYZ when we checked in because I was feeling uncertain about my metrics. And so again, to be like, as an employer, one of the frustrations I think that we can experience is, again, it doesn't matter how many times I say it, it feels like it's sometimes in one ear, out the other.
mm-hmm.
And so having it written down where I can go, I know it's not me. In this case, I know it's not me because I can say, well, I'm glad to hear you say that because here's your document in your shared folder that you have access to 24/7. Like, just a reminder, if you're ever confused, this is a resource for you. But it's also, again, clarity and protection for me, mm-hmm. that I don't have to wonder, did I forget to say it? Did I write it down? Did they not see it?
Yes.
It's just collaborative communication.
Well, in our virtual work environments, this is so important. It's even more important than when we're in a physical workspace together, because when you're in a physical workspace, there's binders and documentation and paper. But in a virtual work environment, when we say, here's the policy or here's what you're supposed to do in this situation, and you say it once, or maybe you say it 20 times, but if there's no written place for people to reference what they're supposed to do, it feels very, it's like hard to grasp. And so having a place where things are for your team members and they can know, like, here's where I go to look for this and here's what's expected, does a lot to set your team up for success and to take that burden off of you, because okay, it's documented. I've said it, right. And it's documented, and right. They have what they need.
Then the reminder is go here to look, not what a reminder what the policy is.
So yes. So tell me a little more about your book club, because A players love to learn and grow. And so many business owners, Ian, almost 9 out of 10 are not putting any emphasis on team development and professional development for their team members. And that's a huge oversight. Yeah. You are doing it, so that makes you unique. So what kind of books are you reading in the book club?
All sorts of things. We read Donald Miller's Business Made Simple.
Yes.
Which was great. We've read Radical Candor. We've read What the Heck is EOS? So all of these, and usually what happens is we say, here's 2 or 3 books we're deciding between for the book club, go vote, because I know what I think is important. But and this was one of the things from the Tap the Potential course that was like, oh yeah, right, duh, was like remembering to ask my really great team their thoughts and feelings, right? Do you have a book suggestion? Have you read or heard of anything? Do you have a favorite podcast you think that we should be looking at? Because oftentimes a podcast will have a book attached to it. Yes. And so anything that we can do to give them some agency into helping us figure out, do what they want to know, does that align with what we think they need to know? And then again, just to give them this, even if it's like a Coke and Pepsi choice, the feeling of I get to choose here.
Right.
So, and if a book gets a high vote, but doesn't get the highest vote, oftentimes that will be the first suggestion for the next book club.
Nice. Very nice. You hit on something else here that I think is very important for us business owners to be aware of. Even as we start delegating and we build our teams who take things off our plate, we forget to go to them for input and we forget to lean on them. And I think it's so important for us to remember that we are blind to opportunities to get feedback from our team and to have them support us even more. So when you were saying that, what came to mind for me is I have a situation where I have to be out of the office in the end of October, and we had an all-team team development day scheduled, which me being out, it got canceled, and we're going to reschedule it. And one of my key team members said, you know what? this doesn't have to be canceled because you're gone. We can do this. We can do team development. You don't have to do it. And I was like, oh, you're right.
Right? Yay! Yes, thank you. That's what I've been hoping for.
I might have FOMO, the fear of missing out, but it can go on without me. So
watch the little birdies fly, right?
Yes,
there they go,
yes.
spreading their wings. Love it.
We have more opportunities as business owners to let go than we catch. And so I think it's very important for our team members to have that awareness of, hey, speak up and say, we got this, we can do this, because sometimes we just are blind. We are blind to it. So, Ian, I'm really curious, before you did the How to Hire the Best course, what was your hiring experience, and what's been different for you since you've put your How to Hire the Best system in place?
Hiring was one of the first things that I gave to my partner. When I brought a partner into my business 7 years ago, one of the first things I did was to say, I'm not really people-y, and I probably shouldn't be doing hiring. I have no HR background. I've never worked for anyone but myself in any kind of a real job. So I don't even have good modeling of having been in a company where this was a thing. So my partner was coming from a more corporate world, had a little bit of an HR background. And I was like, are you comfortable doing this? She said, yes. So we delegated it to her, and I got mixed results. So some of that, again, was me just not knowing what I didn't know, both in terms of hiring and in terms of leading a team and in terms of managing a partner. And I think, to be fair, the labor market has been the industry of finance, first of all, but the labor market also has been changing in very strange ways over the last decade.
Yes.
And so it used to be, a billion years ago when I started this business and we would go on site to clients, that there were all of these really good natural structures in place, right? You're there for a half day, you leave, you go to another client. So there's very little scope creep able to happen. And that with the move to virtual, again, there's just so many extra things to think about. So we're doing all of the classic, best practices, which produces really poor results. We're really lucky that the first employee that I ever hired is still with us. One of our other amazing employees, so our first employee, Laura, is actually a friend of mine. And she moved to my area and was like, I'm looking for some work. And I was like, I'm looking for some assistance. First hire. A second, not our second hire, but a second person in the business is my college roommate, right? Who used to own her own business. And when that shut down, I was like, please come work for me. You understand how business works. Laura's roommate has been working with us for more than 10 years. So we have this very solid core of amazing people who are really good at what they do and totally get the culture and have managed some very strong shifts with us, moving to virtual, working in different ways, et cetera. And the second piece of that was often kind of a revolving door, right? And so I think that's really stopped since the course.
Wow.
Our last hire, which we had hired an HR consultant to help us with, and she did not, she offered to do recruiting without saying, I actually know nothing about recruiting. It was horrible. Again, School of Hard Knocks is the most expensive university you will ever attend.
Yes, it is.
So, the Tap the Potential course really let us stop the revolving door, go back to our job descriptions, clarify, not just oh, don't forget we need to put in something about must be able to lift 20 pounds and twist, no, I don't have to say that anymore. It's your office now. You can do whatever you want. But this idea of really writing a very long, strangely long job description, which everybody still pushes back on me about, that that has both the little like hidden gem in it, which we've always done, but also just really pushing the immutable laws first, right? This is who you need to be in order to be successful with us.
Yes.
This is who we are. Loud and clear.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And we're willing to lose clients over this.
Yeah. So I think that's fascinating because you said we were doing all the traditional best practices when it comes to hiring, and the traditional best practices when it comes to hiring are the things that we've all experienced if we've ever applied for a job anywhere else. So we think, well, that's must be what you do when you hire someone. So you place an ad, you interview whoever responds to the ad, or whoever, the best of the people who respond to the ad. And then from those people that you interview, you pick who you think is the best. Well, if you haven't written a good ad that really speaks to who you are and what you're looking for, you don't have a good pool of applicants. But the other challenge that I think many people don't realize, Ian, is that A players are not unemployed looking and reading job ads. And so the people who are reading these ads may not be the candidates that you really want. And so you end up picking the best of the worst. And so in the How to Hire the Best course, Ian's talking about, this long job ad, and she got some pushback. I got pushback too on our job ad. This was very long. But the beauty of a long job ad is the people who you're connecting with will read it in its entirety and they will stick with you. And because you're speaking to them and they're realizing you're different. The people who are not right won't read that job ad because they don't want to take the time to read that job ad. So you have eliminated a lot of people you don't have to interview. And interviewing is one of the biggest time suckers in the hiring process. So you're setting with that lengthy job ad that really has your immutable laws and the type of person that you're looking for, you're really setting yourself apart already with that. And then you said that there's a gem in there. So I don't want to leave our listeners hanging. What gems do you put in there? Or is that secret?
Oh, no, it's not secret at all. Cause I think it's a little different every time. I mean, the big one that I remember that we used to use, I'm actually not sure what the current one is because we now use that job posting strategically where we leave it up, but we refer people to it. We don't push it, right? So when I was like, I need a new executive assistant, I went to my network with that. And when someone was like, I think I know someone, I was like, great, here's the job posting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, so we used to say, the no attachments. We will ask you for your resume later. What we want now is a cover letter in the body of the email, no attachments. And so we have a separate jobs at email, and anything with attachment where you can just be like, boop, 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 done.
Yeah. Because they're not following directions.
Right. And especially for a bookkeeper, can you imagine not following directions? Like,
yes, attention to detail if you're going to be
so
a bookkeeper,
important.
Especially at Moxie Bookkeeping.
Yeah. So we usually like throw in an extra, like tell us what kind of cheese you would be if you were a cheese, right? Something just like a little fun, because we're a little fun. Like that's part of it too, is if you read that, and we have people send us a video, which one guy was very angry about. And I was like, okay, like, I don't need to know that you're angry. You can just scroll on by. You don't have to tell me how, whatever. But again, it really filters them out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you had your retention has improved. So hiring is easier, it sounds like, and retention is improving.
Retention is improving. And actually, is that true? I think we're actually going through a dip right now.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because, my partner and I just parted ways, so that's not retention, but it's the best kind of a dip in retention, which is we're getting rid of the B players. We're getting rid of the people who are good enough, right? They're good employees. They're really nice people. They fit, but they're just not, taking us to the next level, right?
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing now about quiet quitting where people are like, well, just do your job, do what you're paid for. And I'm like, that just sounds like a regular job to me. I don't know that that's necessary. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe that's what the A players call it. I just think of that as like, I'm happy, I'm good, and I don't really need to do anything additional,
Yeah.
which from an employee point of view, like, great, good for you.
Hmm.
Those people are fine, right? I think we all need a couple of B players around to see if they can grow into A players or not. But
Hmm.
that's the challenge that we're presenting, and I wouldn't be surprised if we actually did lose, one or two staff members.
This is such an important learning point for business owners. So I'm really glad you're bringing it up. So when you paused, you said, well, retention, I'm not sure. Let me think about that, Dr. Sabrina. Because as you start to get more confident in hiring A players, your tolerance for the B player performance, which does look like quiet quitting because it's just kind of hanging in there and just doing the bare minimum, even though they're getting things done, they're not going the extra mile. And I think one of the really important things for people to understand is you don't ever want to abuse your A players. A players will willingly go the extra mile, and we need to teach them how to set healthy boundaries and support them in having healthy boundaries. But that desire, that intrinsic motivation that we business owners have, because that's how we got into business, because we want to just do all the extra spicy fun things to make things great for our clients, we need that in our A players too. And we have to learn to put those boundaries in place. So what as a natural progression, as a business owner gets more confident in being able to hire A players, there's less tolerance for having the B players on the team, because every role in a small business impacts profitability. You know that really well. Ian, as a bookkeeper,
Really well.
you see it in the books all the time. And so there is a transition where a lot of people who have been with the business for a long time, they've been loyal, they recognize this business owner has a big dream, big vision. I liked it where we were, but I don't want to be a part of that. That's not for me. And so, and especially in the bookkeeping realm, there's a lot of task types who love security. So they will hang on to a job long past the time that it's a good fit for them. So for those of you who are listening, who are accountants and bookkeepers, one of the things you will have to do is to have some of those conversations around, you got us here. And I'm so appreciative of that. And it seems to me that you're not excited about where we're headed. I want to support you in finding something that's a better fit for you. And so that we can also open up this opportunity to have somebody who is ready to really run with us with where we're wanting to head. So there is that natural progression where longstanding team members will start exiting the business. And it's uncomfortable, but it's also a good thing because it creates new opportunities. And those new team members who come on have so much passion, so much vision and energy and ideas that we can't even imagine until they're on our team what's possible.
Yeah. And I try to sort of prime the pump for that conversation
Mm-hmm.
by not even necessarily targeting someone that's like, let's get you out. But this idea that, again, that I feel like should be woven through the company culture of the business relationship that we have is, you help me get where I want to go, and I will help you get where you want to go, whether or not it's with us. Right?
Yes. Yes. Say more
So,
about that, Ian.
so, we've had people in the past who were amazing employees, who were absolutely A players, and who were on the track to want to run their own business.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's the case, usually what we say is, great, how can we help you do that? And
Yeah.
if you have a client or two that you really have a strong relationship with, and we feel like it would be a disservice to that client for, to keep them with the firm, like, let's talk about a buyout agreement.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a way that we can make this work for everyone, because it's not my job to like chain you to the oars in the boat, right?
Yeah.
That's how I let you do your best for me, is by assuring you I'm not going to put a glass ceiling over you.
So A players, if you're listening to this and this is resonating for you, you need to listen up to what Ian is saying, because so many business owners feel like, if I could just find somebody and hire them and they stay with me for 20 years, then I don't ever have to hire for that role again, and it's great. But there's so many downsides to that. And everyone deserves the chance to grow. And when we take the the perspective as business owners that people are a part of our team for a period of time, but they don't ever leave our family. And that means that we're here to support their ongoing growth. And A players, especially, are on a journey, on a career journey, and they're not going to be with us for life. And it wouldn't be healthy for the business if the A players were all there for the next 20 years, because that's a business that's stagnating. There's no fresh blood coming in, and that the new ideas and the new energy is so important in a business. And so when you're able to have conversations with your team members around what's important to you, what are your career goals, and how do we support you here in achieving your career goals, whether that's with us or if we're just a step on your path. And I think one of the things that many business owners overlook is when you have those team members who move on, they become the biggest fans of the business. They refer clients and new team members to you, and they're the best people to refer the new team members to you because they know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, Ian, you are really distinguishing yourself as an employer of choice for these A players. Talk to me a little bit about the personality strengths that when you're looking to hire. What are some of those personality strengths that you look for?
I mean, boundaries, right? Again, this idea that no is a fabulous word. I would much rather hear no than hear yes when you don't mean it. So the ability to say that doesn't work for me, or I need something different, or no, I'm not going to be able to get that done in the time that you requested. I'm not the right person to do that, is refreshing for me, because then I can go, great, okay, now I know what to work with. So people who are really clear, who have that desire to be helpful, but not to the point of codependency. Right? The place that I have seen it go wrong in the past is wanting to go that extra mile and then forgetting that little step of reminding the client, I would love to help you with this. I'm happy to do it. This is out of scope. I will have someone from the office contact you about what the additional billing for this is going to be. And so that feeling of ownership, being willing to step into healthy conflict and advocate for yourself or for a client or for a team member, it's really lonely being a business owner. And knowing that my team has my back in that way as well is priceless.
I agree.
And then also being willing to be flexible, right? This idea that, someone who has all of the skills I'm looking for could definitely command a lot of money at one of the big four, and recognizing I am not one of the big four, right? Yeah. So I can give you a lot of things that they can't necessarily, but the financial compensation is going to be one of the things that you're going to need to be a little bit flexible on, so that my small business can succeed. And you want to take my job at some point, I would love to give it to you, right? If you're on an ownership track and you want to find, if you want to bring in the money that I can pay you an unlimited salary, I would so love to strategize that with you.
Yes. I think that's such an important discussion, because in small business, when you're a team member, you have opportunities for advancement that you don't have in the corporate world. And that's one of the best growing opportunities for an A player on the team are those opportunities for advancement, especially when you are contributing to the firm's growth, like Ian just laid out. Like, hey, let's collaborate, let's strategize, because there's an opportunity here. There is no glass ceiling at Moxie Bookkeeping, but it's that you have to be willing to do the work and get there. And for business owners listening, always be aware of what are those intangible perks that you are just doing naturally that would make your business attractive to A players. That's what Ian is speaking to here. So Ian, I'm so happy we've had this conversation, and you've really gotten to share some of your insights as you've grown yourself as a business owner and hiring and bringing on team. I appreciate your candor in sharing your School of Hard Knocks lessons. Maybe we have saved people some tuition to the Hard Knocks University in this discussion today. And if there are A players who are listening to Ean describe Moxie Bookkeeping and the opportunities that exist there, and they want to get in contact with you, Ean, what's the best place for them to go?
I think our website is the best place to get in touch with us for just about anything. moxiebookkeeping.com. There's a, fill out a contact form. There's a about us page. We talk about our values on there. I really like our website.
That's great. And the other thing that I think is important to say is that even though Moxie may not have an opening right now, you are great about if somebody is an A player and they're a good fit for your team, you're going to stay in contact with them. And when the opportunity arises, you'll be reaching out. So if you hear this and you think, yeah, Moxie Bookkeeping, I think that could be a good spot for me, go ahead and reach out and make that connection. And you never know where it could go. So thank you so much for being with us, Ean. It's a pleasure to have you in our Great Place to Work Spotlight.
Thank you.